Okay, the movie Dogma opens, and it opens with a disclaimer. And we'll open this section of the podcast with a disclaimer. You know, we typically record our episodes in 2 sessions over 2 days. This is the second part. And in between, I usually watch the movie again. This is a movie, it's one of your classic, like, really long, languid, complicated, detail-rich movies that I assume people in the 90s and 2000s watched over and over again and absorbed every detail. And it's impossible to think, how could you dislike it if you watch it for the first time? There's so much. But there's so much that you're distracted and miserable the first time you watch it. And the second time through, you notice things that are good. So
you watched it again?
I've watched it now 2.5 total times. Since we last recorded, I watched it 1 time normal, and then I watched it on 2 times speed. Now, I will say this, on 2 times speed, it's a good movie.
All right.
Because it's only an hour long. It's fast. You don't have time to stew in all the misery that is every scene where people sit around a table and say, don't you get it? It's like this. But how can it be this? It's that. No, that's just what they thought back then. I'm not saying I like the movie. I appreciated it more. I still think it's a bad movie. But things that were confusing and...
when were you confused the first time?
I was confused the whole time. I mean, my main question was like, why is this good?
Oh. All right.
Not confused by the story or anything, just confused like, so what are they going for here?
Smart.
It's hard to take it's hard to go back to a time. I mean, this is a South Park world that this is coming out in, but this movie, you know, people wouldn't have ingested 20 years of South Park, and it's blasphemy, and it's nothing is too sacred. You can make fun of everything. You can question everything.
So you're saying it was a pioneer?
I'm not saying it's a pioneer.
What are you saying?
I'm saying everything that maybe I think like, well, who cares about that? Who cares what point you're making? I've read that point in a million atheist books or whatever.
There's people like me who would have never touched an atheist book until they were ready to get atheisted.
That's what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
That
this movie wasn't for you. It was never for you, and it wouldn't have been for you then.
What we have to do on this show is try to put ourselves, is understand the context. And I do that work, and I'm left with, there's still nothing here that I really like.
Well, that was why I clarified and said, okay, so since South Park had not totally been around for forever, this was new enough, and I called it a pioneer. Maybe that was the wrong word, but that's what you're saying. It didn't have that baggage.
Okay, to be clear.
This is probably not interesting enough to clear up. My bad.
I want to.
Good.
Those things that seemed new maybe make you think, oh, this is a good movie.
Okay, so you are saying they are new, but that's right. That was the only thing I was confused at, my love. Was do you think they're new in this movie when it first came out? Or are you saying even then South Park had already been around and it wasn't a new enough idea?
I'm saying it was new enough at the time.
Then that is all I was looking for. We've gotten to the fucking treasure.
But if something's really good, you can even take away the novelty of it and you're still left with something good and solid. And I'm saying there's nothing
I already understood all of that.
Starting over.
Dearest friend.
So the movie opens with a disclaimer, and we've got a disclaimer for you. Just kidding. I'm not going to do it again.
Oh, good.
I gave this movie 1 star first time. Now I give it 2 stars, but I still find it insufferable.
Is that your lowest? I always ask this. I'm sure there's a 1-star movie we've done before. This Parenthood.
Yeah, I think Jingle All the Way I might have given. No, I don't know. This is as good as Mannequin. All right, South Park.
I'm okay with that. I was about to get mad. I'm good.
Can I ask you something about star ratings that you give?
No. Yes.
Call you out on some hypocrisy?
Oh, no. Don't do that. Nope.
You said in our Robin Hood episode, you're like, oh, this is a much better movie than Star Wars. And yet you gave it fewer stars on Letterboxd than you gave Star Wars.
What did I give Star Wars?
3.5 stars, and you gave Robin Hood 3.
I gave Star Wars 3.5 because of its groundbreaking importance to cinema in general. Like it's a textbook. It's a beginner's course in, hey, you want to be a director? This Robin Hood Men in Tights was not that. Robin Hood Men in Tights was a more fun experience.
Prince of Thieves.
That is also what I meant. It was a more fun experience. I enjoyed watching it, which is a big distinction between that and Star Wars. But it wasn't crucial or important or groundbreaking. So
I get it. It's like Birth of a Nation. You're like, yeah, it's like pro Ku Klux Klan, but look at the montage techniques it's creating. That's what you're saying.
No.
Like South Park, Dogma opens with some disclaimers. There's disclaimer humor. And it's like, this, if you think this movie is offensive, you don't have a sense of humor. After all, God has a sense of humor. Have you seen a platypus? And you realize, like, oh, this is kind of a wholesome movie. It's making platypus jokes at the beginning.
And then apologizes to the platypus.
Yeah, this was a time where pluralizing words was very funny.
I still enjoy it.
So we're on the boardwalk of the Jersey Shore, and an old man. Who is this man? What's he doing? Why does he look so serene, so godly? He's God.
I instantly think Clockwork Orange is about to happen.
It does.
And then it does.
He gets beaten up by some hockey toughs. This man, this John Doe, is played by Bud Cort from Harold and Maude. Yes, Lacey.
Am I misremembering, but aren't a ton of movies shot on a very empty Jersey Shore boardwalk? Doesn't that happen often, that the boardwalk is it just really bad, like, business over there? He's clearly maybe out of season. There's no one there. Fine, but I feel like they use the Jersey boardwalk very often this way, but maybe that's just for, like, ease of shooting.
Example.
You just need the there's definitely a Sex and the City moment where it's an empty boardwalk. There's
The Sopranos.
There's The Sopranos. There's Boardwalk Empire. There's I feel like there's other kid movies and stuff. Maybe it's just like, if you care about Jersey the place, you would understand the importance of going on the off season, or what you would use the boardwalk for in juxtaposition of what you would use it for when it's in season. Mm-hmm. Maybe it just means something I don't understand.
I think you just understood it.
Oh, fuck yeah, I'm smart.
So he gets beaten up by these hockey toughs. Was this hard for you to watch? You don't like old people getting beaten up?
I don't like that. No, this wasn't. They don't show him long enough for it to hurt my feelings very much. But yeah, no, I have a hard time with that. But this was fine. Is it the Lord of the Flies? I don't know what it is, but the fly sound effects, that the buzzing, they make it seem like it's happening from their rollerblade wheels. And in the first few shots of the three boys, they give you a little bit of a reason why it's happening, and then they just drop all of that by the end, and it's just like you see them and you hear flies.
Do they ever supply a reason? Because I noticed
They do.
This movie explains everything.
No, I'm just saying that they give you like a real life reason why you might be hearing that sound, because the fly buzzing does sound a lot like wheels going, or someone going fast. It makes them sound fast, but it just makes them sound cursed, evil, locusts. Yeah, I feel like they were going for a locust vibe, right? Like, this is a plague.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't fucking know. I didn't write it.
We check in on Cardinal Glick, played by George Carlin, but he's a famous atheist. What's he doing here, mocking our religion? He's Cardinal Glick, and he's trying to bring Catholicism into the 21st century with his new initiative, Catholicism Wow.
And which is a funny name.
Yeah, it's like 8 minutes into the movie. I'm like, this is a good movie. This is funny. This is funny. And they're going to replace the crucifix with the Buddy Christ, and it looks very funny. And I'm writing in my notes, we're in for a fun time.
Oh. And I like a good physical object from a movie that you can have later that isn't, like the hand from Talk to Me became popular for horror fans to get and put into their collection. And then I know a lot of people who have that hanging from their rearview mirror, the Buddy Christ. Mm-hmm. I don't know, just like, you could just tell sometimes, like, oh, that's going to be a physical object I can collect if I want.
Kevin Smith was an early adopter of the web store.
What do you mean? Just an online merch
store? He started a website, and he's like, here, you can buy stuff that ties into my movies.
That's fucking smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Kevin Smith is? Smart. Is this The Nun? Is she from a previous movie? I assumed this is a role for someone from a previous Kevin Smith movie, but I couldn't really peg her.
You might be right. I didn't note it if it was. But I'm no Kevin Smith-ian.
Almost all talking roles, especially the minor ones, are to a character.
That's true, and so early in the movie. It's our first introduction to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. They're at the airport in Wisconsin. That's random. And Matt Damon is having this conversation with a nun, and he's talking to her about his theory. This movie's got a lot of theories. Kevin Smith's got a lot of theories he's going to say at you. And this is about how the walrus and the carpenter from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass explains world religions. We're all just the oysters. We're getting duped along by the man into believing religion, the opiates of the masses.
Is this important?
Is this important? This is everything.
You're right.
And he talks this nun out of her faith. And Ben Affleck, an on-screen text tells us that Matt Damon is Loki. And I was digging around. Does Loki have any connection to Christianity? Loki's a figure from Norse mythology. What's he doing in this Christian thing? And I couldn't find a solid answer.
Oh, I figured all the names. I mean, Bethany certainly made sense. And then...
what is Bethany?
It's a name that comes from Bethlehem. Also, Bethany's in the Bible. That's a biblical name. I'm not saying it makes sense that she's the first scion or his last scion or whatever, but her name made sense.
And then Bartleby,
yeah, that's just the guy from Babes in Toyland.
That's just a Herman Melville story.
It's just a funny word. Yeah. All right. Well, he sure did. In Rufus, he sure did pick names that seems like they could have been biblical, even if they're not.
Mm-hmm. This argument that Loki is making is basically, it's an argument that we all make. Is
that a high school boy would make.
Yes, but it's one of the good ones.
It is a good one.
How is something how can you define morality as something that you do because you fear you're going to be punished if you don't do it? That's not morality.
Right.
An act is good or it's not good by its own merits, not by the consequences that you will incur from a revengeful God.
You figure it out by the effect it has on others, not by the effect it's going to have on you.
Mm-hmm. And this nun is like, you're right. I renounce my faith.
That's just confusing because, I mean, I get it. They've been there for hundreds and hundreds of, or even more than that, years. They're bored. You gotta have a hobby. But he's an angel who knows that God does exist and that heaven and hell are real. But his hobby is to talk clergy out of their faith.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's funny, but is it his issue is that clergy aren't serious enough and they pretend to know something that they've never seen and have faith, but he just thinks they're phonies.
I don't think so. I think I'm so good at this I can even talk clergy out of it.
He seems like he's on a mission, and he's an angel with missions, right? So he is the justice of God. These are people who they reserve a certain place and status in life because they have said they are a thing. They are a nun, they are a priest, they are a preacher. So if you're going to wrap yourself in the shroud of, I am here to speak for God, then I think they are the right people to test and to see how strong is their faith, because those are supposed to be messengers for God. There aren't angels on this world. There are these people. So I think this might be his way of making sure just the strongest, best messengers are the ones he lets get through his grasp.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm right.
Okay. I don't know. So many things in this movie are like funny to describe, or like, how about this? An angel who literally knows God's real, but he tries to talk people out of believing in God for the lulz. It's like, yeah, I guess that's funny, but it's not fun or enjoyable to watch happen.
Oh, I don't know. I enjoy all the Ben Affleck and Matt Damon scenes just because they're so good. But the thing he's doing is kind of beside the point.
I enjoyed this scene because I didn't know the whole movie was ahead of me. Like, oh, here we go. Ben and Matt, my friends. And Matt Damon's chewing gum, so this movie automatically loses a star.
And I like it. I like eating in movies. Oh. Okay, you don't need to like cum just now. That's rude on a podcast.
No, reverse cum.
You sucked it up?
Yeah. Bartleby,
your butthole.
Ben Affleck, he likes going to movies, to airports to watch families reuniting. He's like Love Actually. Look at all the love out there in the world. Isn't it beautiful?
I thought he was going to say something so much cooler, to like, look at the airport is, and I was about to agree so hard. Like, the airport is where you see humanity at its most
primal.
True. Yes. Right. Everyone's got the most important thing they need to go do. Everyone's flight is the most important thing. And I mean, it is. If you think about your life preparing for a trip, even if you're someone who travels a lot, the fact that you get on that airplane at that time does make a huge difference to your one specific life. But you're in a giant hangar full of people feeling the same way. It is a perfect place to observe humanity. I don't think he makes a good point. Him watching deep French kissing of a person who's picking up their boyfriend who they say already slept with somebody while he was I don't know. It doesn't move me at all. It doesn't make the point.
It doesn't make your heart flutter? Oh, he's right. Look at all the beauty in the world. They should make a movie about that. All
right. Thank you. I just felt like there was room for a cool thing to say here. I mean, the Kevin Smith movies always have great observations. That one was just, it wasn't the right one. Fail.
No, you kids listening who, are less than 30 years old might not know it, but once upon a time, you could meet people in the terminal of the airport, even if you weren't flying. You could greet your loved ones returning from a long flight.
Yeah, I remember going to a terminal.
Me too.
You picked up your sister at a terminal.
That was after that. That wasn't. We had special permission, but
sorry.
We're
white. Excuse me, we're white.
Yeah.
Coming through.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
No, I remember picking up like my mom. She would go on business trips, and we'd walk off the airplane from the little thing.
You're so good at airplane.
The jetway is what it's called.
Right.
Walk out, mother.
You're back. A lot of things have changed.
Shake my hand.
Not in public.
All right, we're on slide 1.
This always fucking happens.
They find out this thing about this Cardinal Glick in Jersey. He's created an archway, and if you pass through it, you get a plenary indulgence, and it means all of your sins of your lifetime have been wiped away. And Ben Affleck points out, we have the power of transubstantiation. We can turn ourselves into humans, go through that. Oh, because I didn't mention this. They've been cast out of heaven. They're stuck here on earth for all eternity.
They are angels.
God decrees you're never coming back to heaven. And Bartleby says, well, wait a minute. What about this? What if I get the plenary indulgence? Then I get to go back to heaven.
Isn't it weird that it took that long for a clergy to think of this thing to do?
I tried to figure out if this is a real thing. I mean, indulgences and plenary indulgences exist, but you get absolution for everything that ever happened to you just by walking under a thing. I don't know
you were
about
going to
that.
look that up, and all right.
I have Wikipedia plenary indulgence.
Great. I was thinking this movie was going to have some good points about abortion and about, I mean, at least they do say I'm pro-choice a few different times. That's great. But they revealed that, well, now we're following a lady. Her name is Bethany. We see Jeanine Garofalo for a little while. I wish she'd stayed around, honestly. You don't know this is going to be your main character. The movie's just kind of been checking in on different people so far, so you really don't know when it's going to matter. And it's just two ladies talking at work. The only thing weird was that, they had to walk through some protests to get in, which is pretty normal. I wonder if this movie thought that was edgy or like extreme. Like maybe picketing outside of an abortion clinic has like ebbs and flows.
No, I think this is their job, and they have to deal with this every single time.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is
what they have to deal with.
This is where the movie starts to let me down. Because in my head, this movie was very like taboo and like, oh, look at them talking about religion in such a casual way and not being totally down with God. Not saying, but now I realize why my Christian ass would have liked this as a kid. The whole time God exists. There's never any toying with like, is he real? No, I mean, there's angels. He's real pretty fucking quick. But it's just such a big red flag. I mean, Bethany says, I think God is dead. Okay, that is such a Christian ass fucking thing to say. Something that doesn't exist can't die.
Well, you're so right. Can you just talk more generally about Bethany's journey and her crisis of faith and try to explain it?
She's a lifelong Catholic, and she still goes to church, and they have a scene of her in church, and no one's paying attention, and she's bored too. But you see, she goes every fucking Sunday.
Can I point out something the priest says? He's giving out news updates, and he's like, just so you all know, the Right to Life Foundation is holding its biannual softball game against the Cook County Pro-Choice League. Thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then he says, and I don't know if you've read the news, but this poor homeless gentleman in New Jersey was assaulted and now he's in a coma and they want to take him off life support. Catholics all across the country are joining in protest against euthanasia. I'm just like, this movie is spinning so many plates in the air. It's like in 10 minutes, it's like, we're also going to take on the death with dignity and euthanasia and that too, in addition to everything else. Just throwing so much shit at you right away.
Yes. So Bethany's whole deal, and so nice of her to tell her friend this, which I'm sure is the 8th time she's told her friend this. But she's had a rough couple of years or something. She was married and found out she could not conceive, and her husband divorced her because he wanted children, which is fucking dick. So, I mean, so she has not forgiven God for this, but it's just like, if you live in a body with a brain that is so sure God exists, then God chose this for you, and you choose to be mad at God and to also say something like he's dead, then go to hell. Like, this is just so contradictory. Doesn't anyone who believed in God this much wouldn't be like, I'm mad at you. At least, I mean, the way I was raised was when a bad thing happens to you, you know that you're supposed to wait for the reason it happened to unveil itself, or you make up one. But you convince yourself like, he sure is mysterious. He knows best, because you find a reason why even the most terrible thing was actually the thing that had and needed to happen. God is so wise.
Or you do the other logical thing that happens to people is, I don't think there's a God. But that's not what she's doing. Like Mel Gibson in Signs,
right.
She's saying, no, I know you exist and I hate you.
She's a
You did
brat.
bad things to me.
She's a fucking brat. Like, does she understand what horrors happen in the world all the time? She's at an abortion clinic. Are people not being raped and molested and under horrible living standards and conditions that they need to abort a baby for a million different reasons? She sees that every day. But no, her story. I'm mad at the Jesus Christ. Boo. It's just like,
it's a weird idea to have a movie where people are going to be interacting with angels who they know
are angels.
Know with proof. Okay, so Jesus and God and all that exist. Okay. You can't then have a character go on the either I had lost my faith, I don't believe anymore, or I had thought God isn't good anymore. You can't have either of those, because now they're interacting with and getting direct proof. It would be more interesting if she's like, I'm learning God exists and he sucks, but that's not what's happening either. Which
is so hard to once you see it, once you feel it, once you're looking at just the randomness of even like the big unveiling of who God is at the end, and that person is so serene and so nice and charming and all that. And you're the whole time just thinking, you let all this fucking happen. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the, like, I'm not like in awe. I'm not like, wow, look at what this person can do with the rubbing of hands and the lay. Like, you created the entire universe. You need to do all this to clear up one fucking hole in a person. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but it's just like, are you powerful or aren't you? Are you good or aren't you? Like, you seem like a flake.
You're all powerful, but you can get trapped in a body in a coma.
Right, because you have one weakness, which you're God, but you have a weakness, and that is for skee ball. And like, I get that that's supposed to be funny, but it's just put a skee ball thing up in the heaven where you are. Does it go through the clouds? Anyway.
That bothers me a lot less than just our main character, her journey through the movie. Not only I don't connect to it personally, I don't understand it. It doesn't follow A to B to C to D.
At all.
And I couldn't even tell you where she is at any point in the movie, like emotionally or spiritually. No. She's just like, I've lost my faith.
I wish she were even that. I mean, as the movie progresses, I like Bethany more and more, but she always just seems shitty. Like, she just seems younger than she is. She seems immature. This is an older female lead that I would even expect them to use in a Kevin Smith movie. So I appreciate how, like, I think she's ordinary. She's pretty, but there's nothing spectacular about her. I appreciate that. She's relatable. She's down to earth, but she's kind of a fucking twit. I don't know. She just, get real. Oh, my reality bites. You know what I'm saying? Oh, give me a break, Angel. It just gets old. When she is serious, when her relationship, once again, Jay and Silent Bob to the rescue, her relationship with them is what makes me like her.
This is Linda Fiorentino, and we should just talk about her for a minute. Her career, which was really ascending in the late 90s, kind of collapsed, and I think this movie is partially responsible, and I think Kevin Smith had a hand in it. On the commentary of this movie, he said during the scene with Janeane Garofalo and Linda Fiorentino, he's like, oh, Janeane Garofalo, wish she had played the lead of the movie instead. And apparently people took and ran that comment with it. And Linda Fiorentino, who was the third lead in Men in Black, was not brought back for Men in Black 2. And there were rumors that Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones said she was difficult. And now we know, like, when that word gets thrown around about a woman, you have to now be suspicious about it. But her career really did collapse after that. Kevin Smith recently has apologized to her.
Just because he had a preference for Janeane Garofalo? I mean,
well, he fed the narrative that she was difficult and that she was bad. when maybe he didn't believe in that, and maybe there's never any solid reporting that she's tough to work with. It's just what happens with women.
Right. Well, and she's just a brunette. She's not like any kind of particularly drop dead devastating gorgeous thing that you can't do without. So yeah, they're disposable.
She has a deep voice,
which I like.
She has a delivery that's always very low in the mix. And this drives me crazy. I know it's an acting choice, but when I listen, especially when I was watching some of Men in Black, and Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith are just barking, and then you're telling me the galaxy's under Orion's belt. But it's at the same volume, so you're like, okay, so the sound mixer had to boost her way the hell up. It sounds so weird. No one could handle this role in this movie. This is a losing proposition to take on this role. Yeah. I don't think she acquits herself well, but I don't necessarily blame it on her.
I don't mind her in this movie. I just don't. She has way too many faces that she gives Alan Rickman in that first like restaurant scene, and I think
I have a clip of that because
I don't think I forgive her after that. I just keep like, all
right, let's go ahead and pull it up because
it's so much. And it's like, he's already proven he's a fucking thing. Just believe him now. Now you should be reorganizing your life to like deal with this new reality and like who you're going to tell I love you to and who you're going to make sure they don't go to hell. Like you're not like fucking making jerk off noises or faces to this goddamn angel.
This is later in the movie when Alan Rickman shows up. I'm an angel. You have a special destiny. I'm going to tell you about it in a Mexican restaurant. And this is the only clip I got from the movie, but it's emblematic of what the whole movie is. But also, as I watched it over and over again, I thought Lacey must be allergic to the faces because Lacey is sensitive to face acting, to people doing little face things.
Because it's.
Let's just watch.
She's in a.
If they're allowed to enter that church, they'll unmake the world.
If this is so major, why are you talking to me? Why doesn't God do something about it?
He could, but he'd rather see you take care of this one personally.
Why me?
Because of who you are.
And who am I?
Okay, pause. Fucking Jesus Christ. Okay, do we not see her take a shot? Because that's the only thing I could figure out is she... This is a bad impression of someone who's drunk.
They're both acting a little tipsy.
Fine, then I need to see you shoot a couple more because that is the playful thing that I picked up on is that, but they also don't seem like they're in the same room. She doesn't seem like she's responding to Alan Rickman. She seems like she's responding to someone reading those lines.
That's direction. That's Kevin Smith being a shitty at doing reverse shot conversation. They may not have been literally physically both together. They probably were.
Or one of them did a retake to like fix their energy, Alan, because he's in it. Mm-hmm. And he's leaning in, and she's just like, "Okay, Dad."
And this is the first one of these scenes in the movie where somebody data dumps on the other. Don't you understand the rules of everything? Everything you thought was wrong, and now here's everything new. And oh yeah, come on, you're telling me that? Oh yeah, you think that? And if it were one, you're allowed one at the beginning of your movie to get everything in motion. But this movie is all of this scene. This scene happens again and again and again.
And again and again, right. But I mean, but they are introducing all these characters with thousands of years of knowledge. To them, certain rules and things are very pedestrian and they are very, but this is probably the millionth time they've had to explain them. I get that. It's just, well, then maybe stop introducing people to Bethany or find a more interesting way to give her the rules or show us the rules.
Writing this script, stop throwing in so many new elements. Let's keep it a little simpler.
Yeah, why do I need to know what a muse is? And I mean, you were able to get Selma Hayek's? Like, because she's fucking adorable and she's great to look at, but what does she add to this? I keep trying to think of like, what did Selma Hayek's character end up doing that Rufus couldn't have done? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, it's not that she has to. I mean, she can literally just be bringing some energy. But yeah, so many elements of this movie, if you remove them, everything else would remain exactly the same.
Does that ever fucking go anywhere? Man, they really talk about Mubi a lot. The golden cow that's just supposed to stand in for fucking Ronald McDonald or whatever. And then at some point they just give up on it because the angels shouldn't be doing that. But it's like, this seems like it's going to be important. And I don't think it really went anywhere. Anyway.
Americans just worship the almighty cheeseburger. Well, we meet a very important new character, Azrael, played by Jason Lee. What's Azrael's deal?
Well, at first you think he's just here to fuck shit up, which I guess he is. His whole deal is confusing. He's the reason why those little Lord of the Fly fuckers are around, but you realize he needs to incapacitate. It's revealed that the hobo not the hobo. He's not a hobo. It's revealed that the older gentleman that they beat up on the boardwalk in the very beginning is actually Jesus in a human form. God in a human form. Sorry, this is my Baptistness in me. And so all he was really he's important enough. He's non-important enough in hell to slip out without being very noticed, but important enough to get out and to bring some delinquents. So he's just there to make sure that God stays busy while the two angels do their little plan. But the first time you meet him, he's just knocking on the door of some woman's house, make sure she has air conditioner. Once he finds out she does, she has the boys kill her so that he can go enjoy her air conditioner. So it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I thought, is this like going to be like a
spree?
consumerism message? All these Americans waste so much.
Oh.
Never been more comfortable in the history of humanity.
But it's
you're
just
miserable.
It's one
But
off. It's nothing.
He has horns. Azrael is a real figure from Christian mythology. He's the angel of death. He's also a character in His Dark Materials. Hang on to that, because there are a lot of other His Dark Materials parallels in this movie.
Alan Rickman. No, that's not the
same. But Alan Rickman plays Metatron, who is the ultimate villain in His Dark Materials. Oh. Speak of the devil or angel.
Oh. I don't know why you're sure. I thought we already had
we
the
did.
scene.
You're right. But Linda Fiorentino is kneeling down in her bedroom that has crosses all over
crucifixes everywhere,
praying, "Now I lay me down."
Okay,
and she goes night and she falls asleep. Cut ahead. Now she wakes up in Alan Rickman's inner room, and I am the Metatron. I am the herald of the angel of the death of the god of the here I am.
She puts him out with a fire extinguisher. Hilarious, because he's a fire god or fire angel.
What are you doing, you bitch? So you're like, he's not your typical angel. He's a little foul-mouthed and a little...
He's foul-mouthed and he's the mouth of God.
That's right. The raunchiest figure of all, God. Have you seen the way people have sex? It's hilarious.
They say the gag where he's not anatomically correct, like he has no penis, the dick cast that they make for him, they are so proud of that little prop that they show it for way too long. Like we didn't need a solid 45 seconds of his thighs are not my favorite part of him.
We made the prop.
No.
That's half the budget. In His Dark Materials, Metatron, that series, it's a great series if you haven't read it, concludes with, Metatron has imprisoned God in a crystal ball of sorts, and he's taken over the kingdom of heaven. And that series concludes with the good guys defeating Metatron and devoting the rest of their lives to building the Republic of Heaven. It's like it is a book series that
you're kind of heaven.
What this movie I wish it was doing, which is like, yeah, God may be real, but he's got some bad ideas, and maybe we need to start over. That's all I wanted to say.
And anyway, this is where Bethany finds out that like she's been tapped. There's two angels. They're running amok. Look, I proved you I'm an angel, so why don't you go ahead and believe me? Why me? I don't know. It's just your time, kid.
It's classic. You're very special. We found you. It's time to go. We have a special mission for you. Rejection of the call. Thanks, but I'll pass.
Well, because they don't tell her she's important yet. They don't tell her she's special. Just like, no, it's just your time.
You're kind of special, but not as special as we're going to tell you later that you are.
It makes it seem like he's tapping people all the time for little things that no one has any idea are happening, because why would
That's true.
This is just happening in New Jersey. Only like 7 people know.
We just need you to go to New Jersey. He's telling her about the angels.
She's close by.
Bartleby and Loki, they're cast out of heaven. You mean they had to go to hell? West Wisconsin.
Oh, home of the cheeseheads.
But they're not confined to Wisconsin. They were just sent there, but they can leave.
Oh, who cares?
And they had all the time in the world to do it. So
right, just walk around.
Go somewhere else.
They keep getting to the airport. Get on a plane.
and he also says, you're going to be aided by 2 prophets. One talks a lot, too much, and the other never says a word. Who could he be talking about?
Oh my God. I didn't realize, I forgot that the prophets don't know they're prophets. That's interesting. I thought prophets walk around, in my experience, they want your money and they tell you they're a prophet.
That's prophet with an F you're talking about.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, well.
Snoogans.
We meet Jay and Silent Bob when they save Bethany because she's being beaten up by the hockey goons in her abortion clinic parking lot. And then she's like, okay, thanks. Hey, what are you guys doing here anyway? You're not those protesters. And then Jay says, and I appreciated this, he says, fuck no, man, we're pro-choice. Specifically says, I thought I wrote it down, but it's just like, no, man, what a woman does with her body is her own choice and it's none of my fucking business. And I was like, I mean, this was the 90s. This was like, the left's position was like, I mean, we're pro-choice, but you should obviously be very ashamed if you have an abortion. It's a very sad thing that happens. So it's just, I admired that this movie bluntly says that.
Yeah.
And they go out to a diner together because she realizes you're the prophets and you're going to take me to Jersey. Bethany and the prophets are on, this is going to be a road trip movie. We're going from Illinois to New Jersey, but their car breaks down and they're on the side of the road and they're bickering. And then Chris Rock falls out of the sky, Rufus. He gets up and he's naked and they're like, "What? You're naked. What are you doing?" They give him a jacket and he starts info dumping on them. Okay, here's my deal. I'm a dead man. I'm not an angel. I was a real man. Then I died. Also, I was friends with Christ. Wait, you knew Christ? Yeah. A lot of that going on.
I was the 13th apostle. They don't talk to me because I'm black.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's at least interesting commentary for like who writes history.
Yeah.
And why, they do touch on the fact that like God's just written as a man. Whoever's writing the books, that's who they make them look and sound like.
I think we're making this movie sound good because all these things are good and interesting.
The points are good. That's the thing. This movie has good stuff. It's making interesting points.
It's a good Wikipedia page. The goons show up and they're about to attack, but then instead of attacking, they leave by cutting a hole in reality and jumping through it.
Right.
Also something that happens in His Dark Materials.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting this movie ripped off His Dark Materials. I'm just saying interesting parallels. Rufus wants the Bible changed because he's the 13th apostle, but they never talk about him. And also Jesus is black. And this is just one of so many scenes where he's just like, Jesus is black. And then Jay's like, I don't buy it. And Rufus just like rolls his eyes. And then Bethany's like, well, okay, but if that were true, why wasn't it in the Bible? And
it's like, what? That's what we're saying. Rufus is saying that shit wasn't written about.
Because I guess the thesis statement of the movie is like, okay, the Bible has a core message that's very important, which is God.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. People pervert that message when they start their factions and their churches and stuff. But the real message is the same.
Well, no, because they seem to have a lot of commentary about how the Bible is written in a skewed way. Its view is skewed.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So it's not.
So man
even the
wrote
Bible.
That.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That there's a lot of real shit, but the dogma is the problem. People get hung up on their own rules. They get hung up on their version of something, what they were taught. They're losing the bigger picture. But that doesn't make sense because then you got the 2 angels who are so hung up on adultery and because the 10 commandments matter. But that was written by a man too, although those were written by God. They were given to Moses. But like, who's deciding? They seem to care about morality.
Well, and they say, and the movie is operating with their harebrained scheme is we can get into heaven by crossing under that archway. And that will negate reality. We didn't mention that. Those are the stakes of the movie. Is the universe will be torn asunder.
Listening to this without knowing.
Because I bet more people listen to this who haven't seen Dogma than who have.
Okay.
The universe will be torn asunder because God decreed you shall never return to heaven. But they found a loophole. And if they exploit the loophole, God will be fallible. And then everything will be kaput.
Or up will be down, black will be white. It turns an existence will be non-existence.
And their rationale is the Pope has blessed this archway. And the Pope speaks for God.
If you're Catholic. Yeah.
So so papal decrees, that's true. So, which means all the Bible stuff is also true then. Because that's where that comes from.
Right. This was also they quote a verse. They're quoting verse to prove things. So there's that. Anyway.
They sneak off to a strip club, Jay and Silent Bob. Those are rascals. So Bethany and Rufus follow them in, and Rufus recognizes the stripper as, isn't that serendipity? So we sit down for another fucking interminable conversation. I'm not an angel, I'm an abstract. An abstract? What's an abstract? Well, I'm a muse. You know, I wanted to do this, but then I did that, and then I left heaven so that I could write. Well, yeah, why didn't you become a writer? I didn't have any ideas. Yeah,
right.
Oh, that's what she says.
Yeah.
So it's very funny. And then a shit monster attacks. Oh my God, that's an excremental, the Golgathon. Wait a minute, what's its deal? Well, here's its deal.
You know how when people piss and shit because they're being hung? Well, it's like, why?
Nebuchadnezzar III did a Golgamoth back in
Right, but like, okay, great. Explain everything to me about the shit monster, except for that, like, nothing happens because of this.
Except Silent Bob defeats it by spraying it with some spray that makes things smell good.
But
okay,
who
crisis
cares?
averted, yes. I guess the puppet looks kind of good. That's all we'll say.
It's fucking foul.
But this is when we reveal Selma Hayek as Serendipity says, God's a woman, okay? It's men who wrote the Bible, and they have gender bias.
And she doesn't end up being right, and neither does Chris Rock. Everyone's right. God has no form.
That's nice.
That's where they end up going. It's just like, no. Santa's black, Santa's white, Santa's woman.
Santa's green.
What next? Mrs. Claus gives out the presents. It's just okay, fine. You get to be woke, and you get to be
broke.
So Catholic.
Oh.
You're all right. I'm all right. I'm
You're
all right?
But it
right?
is just man and woman. That's it. There's no they, them.
They're shit monsters, man and women. That's it.
I wrote down, this movie does what people make fun of Inception for doing, is every 10 minutes introducing, if we die in the third level of the dream, we're going to go to limbo. What's limbo? Unconstructed dream space. Like, that's what this movie is.
Right. There's so much to introduce. It just isn't right for a movie. Movie.
Bartleby and Loki go to movies, corporate headquarters, and lecture these executives about how they're all evil and immoral.
A golden calf. That is funny. I mean, that's in the Bible. Golden calf is the idol that was being, that's why the marketplace was all fucked up.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. I thought it was just care too much about materials. And
It is. That's still the same thing. They're doing both. But Loki is the god that tore up shit. Like, I mean, he would specifically be not okay with this calf.
Loki from Norse mythology.
He says he's the action hand of God. If there's a thing in the Bible where a bunch of people died, he did it.
Okay.
So that would have been one of the things he did.
Yeah. They kill all these executives. This scene goes on forever. I don't understand.
And the things they say people did wrong really vary.
Yeah, some of it's like, you cheated on your tax returns. You molested a small child. You cheated on your wife.
With your son, or whatever the fuck. He's just like, Jesus Christ.
You pirate music.
And then he sneezes, and I almost like, oh God, my mouth. Matt Damon's character sneezes in the middle of talking, and I was like, that's funny. I bet that just happened. They left it in. And of course not. No. At the end, when they're like, no, you are an innocent. You did nothing wrong, to the one woman in the whole room. And then, but you didn't say bless you when I sneeze. Then he puts the gun to her head, and it's like, are you morally just or not? What is this?
If he killed her, it would at least be a choice. It would be, wait a minute, I like these guys, but they seem to actually are just inventing reasons to kill people.
There's that. But is saying bless you in the fucking Bible?
Yes,
like, that is something we all made
Genesis
up.
4:2.
Thou shalt have little weird heart stoppings throughout the day. And if someone experiences that, it's scary. Tell them bless you.
Thou shalt say Gesundheit. In 2019, they filmed Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in New Orleans, and they turned one of the fast food restaurants on Veterans Boulevard into a movies. Isn't that funny?
Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Oh, yeah. There have been lots of sequels in recent years that don't get released.
Released?
They get released like they do Fathom events. Like, they don't get proper distribution.
But I could see them?
You could see them, yeah.
All right, then.
Yeah, Kevin Smith's career, he only makes products for his core 2,000 or so followers.
I love that. I love that. He really is living his best life. I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's nice that his plans isn't like the world. He is exactly what you say this podcast is, what you've always said about what you're going to make. Make the thing you're proud of for the kind of thing you'd want to listen to, and we will find our audience.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not right when I say that, but you're right about him doing it.
Yeah, I just sounded the alarm because I need to get the fuck out of here. This whole thing's been a sham.
They get on a train.
I mean, they are doing some deep staring at each other. Now it's Bethany talking to two guys on a train. Well, the whole crew just happens to be on this train. They do not know that these are the angels. And you notice the whole time that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are wearing the reverse outfit of each other. They both have the black coat on, but Ben Affleck has the red hoodie with the white undershirt, and Matt Damon has the white hoodie with the red under. I love it.
I didn't notice
it's
it.
Very
what is it
Boston.
saying?
It's just very from where they're from and of that time. It was cool. They look cool. They're fucking cool. Anyway, so Ben and Bethany end up at a table together, and they are just like really vibing, like totally understanding each other.
But
they're having tiny bottles of alcohol. But wait. Oh, I guess all that's Bethany's because he can't drink. He's an angel. I mean, he could. I guess he could be drinking just for the optics, but he can't get drunk. So meanwhile, Bethany's just pounding him down, and they're just having a deep conversation.
But he is sincerely bonding with her because he doesn't know yet who she is.
That is true.
But here's what they're bonding over. You got dumped? I got dumped.
Too, by God. I mean, yeah, that girl.
It's the least specific conversation I've ever, like, where the movie's like trying to get you invested in how these people are relating to each other. And it's like, I breathe oxygen too.
Right. I also like music and soup.
You think that your heart will feel better over time. It just feels worse.
And that's not even true. I mean, it just depends on who you are and what happened. But yeah, it's going for like something's really connecting with these people. And it's just, I'm thinking like Bartleby Butt Munch, whatever the fuck his name is 2,000 years old. How many of these conversations has he had? Is he really even got it in him to connect to anyone anymore?
Never heard it anyone put that way before.
How? Because you're a scion. Anyway, and then he kind of like, but I'm buying it. Like Kevin Smith has a hard time making these things happen, romantic things between two people, but like these actors are making it happen, I think. I mean, Ben Affleck is. Look at that face.
I'm so vibing with you. I might even tell you that I'm going to stop some angels. Would you say?
Anyway, okay. But like that, and then of course, like the fucking bro locker room bullshit humor has to come in, and it cheapens it. They're supposed to have had a moment. Yeah, okay, it was based on something that can't last, fine. But then he's gonna go, you were about to get on my dick, or like he just says something like that.
What does he say?
I don't know. I said something like that. He just, once he figures out who they are, and she's yelling at him like, you're this, and he's like, oh, shut up, lady, you were about to mount this fucking dick. I don't know what he said, but he shames her for being drunk and like having a deep conversation with him. And it's just like, oh, there, you fucking ruined that. Like that could have been a thing. It didn't have to be ruined.
But this is all supposed to clue you in. Where do you think you lost your faith? I don't know. I just, God wasn't listening anymore.
Isn't it weird how much we have in common? We're more alike than different. Got it. Then why don't we all get on the same side? Know what I mean?
They figure out, oh my God, you're the scion, and Rufus, I know you, you know me. But
we all know each other.
Instantly get overpowered by Silent Bob and thrown off the train. Because I guess earlier Jason Lee told them, like, you can't use your angel powers. You just can't because you'll get found out.
They already know.
Yes, so why aren't you using your angel powers? Yes, but Silent Bob throws them off. There is a funny Indiana Jones reference. He throws them off, and then Silent Bob looks at another passenger who's like, what the hell just happened? And he just says, no ticket. That's kind of funny.
It's kind of.
Nope, this is my least favorite scene in the movie. Is when Bethany has her breakdown in the lake.
Because this should have came so much earlier if you were going to have a fucking breakdown. Was this whole like little thing you're doing that completely upending your life, and you're an adult and you've got bills to pay, but you're on this weird road trip with these people. This is when you decide you've had enough. And I don't even remember what it is, but
I think it's because she's just getting too much more backstory and lore handed to her.
Yeah. It's
No,
just,
you actually,
this is real.
because Rufus they're sitting around a campfire for some reason, and Rufus is like, there's a lot of, haven't you ever wondered why does the story of Jesus go from age 12 to age 30? What's all the information in between? This is all the apocryphal gospel stuff. And yeah, the Da Vinci Code would run with a lot of stuff of this stuff, actually. But
this is how she has to learn what a scion is, though. That's all. She's just understanding her origin story here. And that's when it becomes too much. She was okay with being tapped for this mission, but not to be the chosen one.
And specifically, not only are you the chosen one, but
you're related to
Jesus's great grandniece.
Or whatever it is, right?
Jesus had brothers and sisters, and Chris Rock is like, yeah, you can believe a lot of stuff in the Bible, virgin birth, etc. But you're going to believe a man and a woman will be married for decades and not get down? Come on. Jesus and Joseph and Mary had babies after Jesus. Think about it. Is your world rocked?
That somewhere in this world there has to be descendants of Jesus. That is interesting. I mean, I get that's what they're doing, but it's like, I guess that's interesting. If he was a real guy, yeah.
Just nieces and nephews, though.
Who cares? But I swear, after Bethany finds out this about herself, she's like, oh, so fucking cool now.
No, first, I can't even. And then she runs off because she can't even. And she turns it up to 11, drops to her knees in the water. Is like, I hate you, God. What are you doing to me? And then Alan Rickman comes back. And
he's a little too nice to her, though. He's like, dearest child.
He's walking on water.
Right.
It's very neat. And he explains, I couldn't tell you this right away. You had to find it out on your own. You've been on a wonderful journey. It's beautiful. People are shedding tears looking at your emotional journey. And she's like, I guess I can do it.
That a girl. Okay. So then George Carlin is back in, and they realize, why don't we just ask the guy who's going to be putting on this event to not do that? That's a lot easier than stopping some angels. And it turns out, look, capitalist Pope here is not down with that. This is his big moment. He's put a lot of work into this. He's planned this conference for weeks. So they're not very convincing, and he's not convinced. So that's that. They just needed George Carlin in here one more time. I guess they just had to kind of check that box of someone in the audience is going to realize they could have just.
Oh no, it's not just that. They also take one of his golf clubs.
Okay.
Set that aside. You're going to need that later.
But why is the golf club special? Just because it's his?
Because he sanctified it. Because he's just that self-righteous that he's like, the golf clubs I play with, I need to personally bless them. And it's that personal blessing that allows them to use it against Azrael later. Azrael tracks them down in a bar. This scene goes on forever. He makes them all sit down. Here I have a speech. This is my deal. I was in hell. I don't want to be in hell anymore. Now I'm up here. I'm never going back to hell. So I want what are they called? Bartleby and Loki to end the world and in existence, because then I won't have to go back to hell.
Sounds good.
And then Selma Hayek's like, oh yeah, well what about this? You said that you would always be doing good stuff. You're not doing good now. You're not a true creator. He's like, oh yeah, what about Elvis? Elvis was the king. You're nothing. There's just a lot of this is going on. And then they hit him with the golf club and it kills him. Of course, it was sanctified by that Cardinal Glick.
Am I the only one that's not moved by the idea of everything ending at one time? That doesn't scare me. If you're telling me and everyone I know will all be dead at the same time, good. That's the same. That's the same as us all being alive at the same time. What problem will I have when everything's gone? I don't care.
Well, yes, but it's never gonna. It's like, will it just be 1 millisecond on and the next millisecond off? There's always going to be some sort of thing hits the earth and we all explode. You're going to experience it for a few seconds.
I got it, but the way they explain this is that it's instant. Existence turns to non-existence. That sounds like it happens all at once. We're not going to watch everything switch colors and then
You sound like you think Thanos was right.
I don't think he's wrong. He's mysterious.
They're having Cardinal Glick is having a big event where he's introducing his new plenary archway, and he's standing with the New Jersey governor, and Lacey said she looks like Elizabeth Moss. And she says stuff like this all the time. And I'm like, yeah, love. But this time I looked and was like, oh my God, it rocked my fucking world.
I could see that person's face from here.
If you're listening now, go to the YouTube and look at this picture of this governor. This is the real governor of New Jersey at the time was Christine Whitman, New Jersey's only governor who was a woman still to this day. So I guess they're like, we got to have a woman be the governor.
Mm-hmm.
And
sure does look like a thing that Lacey said. There we go.
She was right. Bartleby and Loki show up and they start killing people. And then the good guys show up. Stop doing that. And then they have a big conversation about beliefs. Then fight some more. Then more conversation about beliefs. And then Bartleby is like, or Loki's like, Ben Affleck, I don't know if we should do this. The socks. I don't know. And so Bartleby kills him. Fuck you. Because his wings were cut off. He had transubstantiated into human. He's like, you're not going to stand in my way. I forgot to mention earlier, after Bethany and him have their good conversation, but then get in a fight, he starts to become radicalized. He's like, I'm thinking maybe we kill all these fucking humans.
I guess.
So that's what he's doing now.
Right.
And Loki dies, and then Bethany finds out the old John Doe who's in a coma, he was playing skee ball. Wait a minute, skee ball? Scurries over to the hospital, gets him out of a coma. It's God. God was trapped in this comatose man.
And the way that God can get out is if you take the intubator out? I don't understand.
Yeah, how does she do that?
Why? Well, that's why I think that the priest makes the point while Bethany's in church to say they're going to take him off life support. I don't think they should be able to do that. Something about taking him off life support makes God be able to come back. Like that person's trapped in the mortal shell until it dies. I thought if it dies that I don't understand it, but I know that something about him being falsely kept alive is why God couldn't get out of that body.
Okay, I'll have to watch it 3.5 more times.
Jesus
Maybe I'll
Christ.
figure that out.
Yeah, I mean that's the only reason I can understand.
This
God
ticking
sucks
clock
at
scenario
getting out of
is
bodies.
if Ben Affleck walks through that archway, existence is ended. So Bethany, you got to run to the hospital, unplug the guy in time. Well, she does, and now God shows up, and God is Alanis Morissette. Random, but she's actually very charming.
Yeah,
and she doesn't speak in this performance
because she's not allowed.
Well, yeah, if she speaks, you will crumble. You will. We're not fit to hear her. That's why she has a herald, Metatron. Mm-hmm. And Bartleby is very sad, and she hugs him and then shouts and wipes him out of existence. And then, I don't know, Jay and Silent Bob has this. I wrote this down as a thing that annoyed me. He's like, why isn't this chick talking? What is this, the piano? And it's like,
The Pianist, right? Is it called
no, The Piano, the movie with Holly Hunter where she is a mute woman.
Oh, yeah.
And it's twofold. It's just annoying reference humor. This is like that. Mm-hmm. And where the joke is just that I said a movie title. And also,
no one would know that.
Jay would not know the fucking piano. He would not be watching the piano.
I think that's why it's funny that he say it.
That's ribald, yes. The best part of the movie is when Alanis Morissette does a handstand and falls over.
Well, and that she's wearing shorts under her dress because that's so practical. And that she's in flip-flops.
God uses her power of resurrection to bring Bethany back to life, set everything right. And then Bethany's like, God, before you go, I just have one question. What is the meaning of life? Or like, why are we, I don't know. She asks something annoying. Why are we here?
Why are we here? Yeah.
And it looks like Alanis Morissette's about to say something, but instead she bops her on the nose and then walks away. And then Alan Rickman's like, well, I'm going to miss you, child.
No, Alan Rickman goes, told you she was funny. That's what makes it cute.
Funny, Potter. And she's like, okay, well, this has certainly been something. And he's like, it sure has. And then rubs her stomach.
No, Bethany's dead. Did you already say Bethany's dead?
You said that God brings her back to life.
I really tuned out. No, he doesn't rub her stomach.
Rubs it, wax on, wax
just
off.
Like takes a grip of it. And I'm thinking, is there a movie where he doesn't touch some woman's womb in a weird way? He just did it in the Prince of
womb play.
He just did it in the Prince of Thieves. Grabs her, she's ripe, whatever the fuck he said. Ew. And he holds it for so long.
Does he do that? No, his mother does that.
It happens.
I think, he just insists womb play. That's how he chooses his projects. And bada bing, bada boom, that's the movie.
There we go.
Dogma.